In this video, I'm going to be covering if you have an application, either it's a Lambda function or just a general application running on any PC, how can you containerize it using the Docker, and what are the different Docker commands do, how to set it up, how to push it to some registry like a Docker hub or um, the AWS ECR registry, wherever you want to keep your Docker image. So basically what Docker does is like it's gonna make sure that the application, whatever the application is in a container, and whatever dependencies the application needs in order to run, they are also in that container. So let's assume I'm gonna make a directory here saying that Docker demo. We'll get in that. Okay, so let's assume that we have an index file, or maybe normally let's assume that we have a node application um, for a Lambda. So for that, we're gonna have a package.json, right? Normally we also have sometimes package-lock.json. Then we have a source directory, and then we have we're gonna have an index.js. So if I do a tree here, so we have a package log JSON file, package JSON file, source.index.json file, index.js file, right? And your handler for the Lambda is gonna be there and stuff like that. So if you want to containerize this application, again, this is for the basic applications, like if you wanted to do, so we're just gonna stick to some basic implementation of Docker containers. So we need to create a file named Dockerfile. Okay, so in that file, I'm gonna write the code here. Basically, we have, and we'll go through all these commands. So we need to tell him what application or dependency we're gonna be using. So we are saying that use a Docker container, like kind of have a Docker dependency on node version 20. So we're gonna create our application on top of a Docker image which has these dependencies. Then we're gonna just tell what are we gonna call our work directory. Normally we just keep it /app. Okay, then we wanted to make sure that we have two things, right? It's gonna make sure that the node, normally when we are zipping our application for the Lambda, we zip package, we zip package JSON file, we zip source files, and we zip node modules. So other than node modules, we're gonna do the similar things. We're gonna copy package, and I'm gonna put a wildcard there so that it does both package JSON and package log JSON. And then we're gonna say that run npm install. That would put everything in the related to the node modules. It's gonna put everything. And the last thing is whatever is inside the source, put it into the source. Okay. And the command we wanted to use is use the node, and the other one is like where is that file. So that we're gonna tell him that it's in the source slash index.js. That's all we need. Just remember that we are basically telling him where is the file located in the local setup, and where do you need to put it into another kind of a computer, which is a Docker image, right? So copy the local file is here, and you need to put it into the image you are creating, which is in the Docker image. You need to put it into the parent directory. Copy from the local file to the Docker image location. And then once we have everything in the Docker image, this is already going to put everything inside the node modules directory is going to get created in the Docker image. And then we're going to run the command over here inside the Docker image. So once you have the Docker file in that directory, all you need to do is to create the image. We would do something like Docker build demo Docker like application, and then we're gonna say dot. So it's gonna fail because we have, give me 1 second, is it expecting a space in between that? Yes. Okay. Path is this. Oh, because I don't have anything inside the package. I don't have the source files, stuff like that. So this basically it is complaining that it needs to have a JSON object. We don't even have that. So this thing is basically npm install. It failed on the npm install. Of course it's gonna fail because we do not even have any code in the package.json. Okay, so that's gonna get created. The image is gonna get created. You can actually do docker image to list all the images you have. Okay, now one thing I wanted to show is like in order to run it locally, and especially if you are running the application which used to run at a specific port, right? And it's not gonna, so once you start the docker image, right, either through the docker desktop or over here command line, what's gonna happen is it's gonna, when you try to hit that locals colon 3003 endpoint or whatever the port you have set up in your application, that endpoint, it's not gonna hit that. The reason being is like you are trying to run the name of that demo, right, demo, what is it called, demo docker application. So yeah, so in order to make it work that locally you are locally you are able to hit that port, you need to do is set the port. So you need to say that okay, map the local port 3003 to the docker images port, which is 3003. Okay, that then after that you would be able to use the postman and hit the local endpoints. Okay, a couple of other things. I'm just gonna, why is that doing that to me? I'm just gonna use the fish here. Okay, so we did that. Just testing one thing. No, still don't like it. Okay, the home for me is not working. Okay, no worries on that. So the next thing, there are a few other things. In order to push the docker image, once you have the image running locally, you tested it, everything. So one more thing before we actually go into how we're going to be pushing it. Another thing to remember is that if you have an application which actually talks to a local instance of any database, like a MySQL database, it's not gonna be able to make the connection to the local database. So let's assume that you ran that command docker run with the port number 3003 colon 3003 and the name of the application, which is demo docker application. Now even though after that you would be able to hit the localhost 3003, but if your application is trying to make connection to the database, it will not be able to hit the local instance the way you used to do it when you just used to run npm install. It's not going to work. The reason being is that it's a containerized application. It either has to have a MySQL installed in the application, or you can link another Docker image, run another Docker image with the MySQL application, and link this Docker with that Docker image. And then you can communicate. But again, if you were thinking that you can use your local database, it's not going to happen, because the new database container you just created, that's gonna not gonna have all that information which your local database has. So just remember that you cannot really like make use of like the local database instance with that containerized application. And that does make sense, because we are creating an application which can run anywhere in any operating system and stuff like that. Okay. What else? Okay, so the first thing you would do is like you would tag it. So the tagging is like giving it a name. So we would say demo docker application. I wanted to call it, like, maybe you have a username as like a demo user inside the Docker hub, right? Or inside the AWS. AWS has a little bit more. It is gonna take a profile, it's gonna take a region, everything like that. But like, let's assume that you are trying to push it into the Docker hub. Then you're gonna give it what name, what is gonna be the application name inside the Docker hub. You're gonna keep the same application, and maybe you wanted to call it latest to give it a tag. Okay, the last thing is docker push, and then whatever you just created, demo user slash demo docker application, right, colon latest. Okay, these are the commands which you're gonna need in order to push your Docker image uh, to any of the registry, like any of the Docker registry. Thanks for watching.